Cool. On today's Systemize to Success, I'm joined by Jane Bayler, who is the Smart Connector. She is an expert in brand and business growth, and she has in the past had a 20-year history in global brand marketing and took a London-based business from 1 to 6 million in a few short years, and then sold out to a big US corporation, communications group, sorry. She's a breast cancer survivor, and she's passionate about the topic of connection and how to transform people's passion and to create relevance, to make more engaging offers, to get people to basically get paid what they're worth for what they do. She's also an Amazon #1 bestseller and has a fantastic podcast called The Smart Connector, which is ranked in the top 2.5% of podcasts in the entire world. So it's my absolute pleasure to have you on the show, Jane, and I'm really looking forward to this. So welcome.
Thank you so much, Steve. It's great to be here. And for those of you that haven't yet discovered my podcast, I also have a fantastic interview with you on there. So head on over there and you'll hear me interviewing Steve as well.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. So it's very nice to have you to reciprocate and have you in the other seat, so to speak, now. So great. Well, I'm really looking forward to this, as I said. This has been a long time coming, and I'm really glad we finally got around to actually doing this.
Me too.
Yeah, where should we start? I mean, there's so much we can talk about, but I think for me, what you do, and I'll be just checking out some of your pages and stuff that we'll link on the show notes. And it's so relevant to so many business owners, and it doesn't really matter where you're at. We could all do with better clients that really appreciate us for the value that we can give them, and clients that we just do what we're good at and it just seems to resonate with them, and they just get great value just from us being who we are. So I mean, I think that to me would be a great place to start. How do you help people do that, and what advice can you give to our people listening today on how they can better their services or how they're offering what they do?
Yeah, well, thank you, Steve. Obviously, this is a podcast about systems, and I'm a great believer in systems. I think we need systems to succeed, and I think with marketing, it's no different. So in the real world, you can wander out onto the field, as I do, and make friends, or go to the shops and strike up a conversation with somebody, and it's all very ad hoc. You can't do the same in the online environment. You do need systems. So the first thing I have to say is that that's where it starts. What is your system for driving prospects into your environment and making them understand the value that you can bring to them? So you need a system for that, for starters. So that's probably a good place to start.
All right, let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah, go on, carry on.
Okay, so the first thing, and this is something that a lot of people are struggling with at the moment, is this topic of lead generation. So how do you actually find the right people to bring to your ecosystem, if you like? Because that is where it all starts. Now, it's not where it ends, because if you just focus on lead generation without having assets that do that job of building know, like, and trust, like we're doing here, then what will happen is you'll end up with a whole load of people that they might have a need for what you do, but the relationship has not been warmed up. So you will end up having very superficial connections. You'll experience a lot of rejection and disappointment. And that is the whole purpose of having online assets like podcasts or funnels or whatever, because it brings people into your world and it actually educates them about the possibilities of working with you. So, but we'll start with lead generation because you have to have that. So what I see a lot of people trying to do, and this really pains me to see it because I know how much effort people are putting in, is they just post on social media and attend networking events. And then they will comment, perhaps like and comment on other people's posts because they think they might be the right prospect for them. But they have no evidence or no data to actually back that up. It's just like, well, I want to work with female entrepreneurs, or I want to work with accountants, or whatever it is. So I'm going to like and follow and endorse and, do whatever I can to every accountant that I've come across on LinkedIn, for example. That's very, very, very inefficient because you're working with thin air, really, aren't you? So obviously, systems is it's all about intelligent data. It's all about, actually leveraging, other people's, I don't know, knowledge, experience, or whatever. So there are experts out there in lead generation, and whether it is paid traffic, whether it is automated methods, for example, you can use automated methods that are not pushy, they're not spammy, they're not, unethical. You can do all of that on social media platforms, but you have to know how and you have to do it in the right way. So, if you've got a relatively low ticket offer, then you have to drive leads at scale. If you've got a much higher ticket offer, if, for example, let's just say you're a really high-end consultant and you just sell, your services for 100 grand or 250 grand or something like that a year, and you only need 5 of those clients to have a fabulous business, then you wouldn't be driving leads at scale. So it's horses for courses, but that's where it all starts. It's getting an efficient system to drive leads into your ecosystem.
Okay. I think there's a lot of people out there who will be listening to that and thinking, yeah, but that's what I'm doing. All those things you said not to do. So they're sat there, they're posting. And I do a lot of posting on social media, but I say I in inverted commas because I don't post anything anymore on social media. I have systems and people that turn the content that I create, like this podcast, and they'll turn it into lots of posts and videos and all the rest of it. And so that's one way to grow authority. But where I think that, and I could do better, which is why I love speaking to people like yourself, because I know I'm going to walk away with some ideas to try to improve what I'm doing. So if I do it from a perspective of where I think I'm struggling, maybe you could add some insight into what I could do better or where I could try and improve.
Yep.
And maybe that'll help other people. So what I'm finding is that we have great authority within our circles, and I speak to people when I speak to people on the phone, and they'll often say, "Oh, I've been listening to your podcast, I've been following you on social media, and I love the content you're putting out there. Really resonates with me. That's why they booked the call." But I think where I would love to hear your sort of views on is how do I make that the content that I put out there actually drive people more than just be there. And then the people that sort of follow me, absorb it, get to know, like, and trust me, and then we have a conversation. If we could be more proactive or more focused on actually maybe pushing people to want to speak to me sooner, it would then speed up the whole process. And I could help them quicker, and we could do, really make a big difference in their lives doing all the stuff that I do. And I think that's where I think that I could definitely improve on. So maybe you could share some insights on that, because I'm sure that I'm not the only person in the world having these challenges.
No, I mean, absolutely. And I think what you described is a very common problem for a lot of experts. In other words, people that sell their own services. So I think when you have something like a podcast or you're on social media, I mean, it's a very, very powerful tool, social media. I mean, it's really changed my life and my business and so on. So, I mean, I'm a great fan of social media. And podcasting, in a way, it's a form of social media because it's just a way of getting your message out. But it is not a structured way. So podcasts, obviously, they can be used as a business generating tool. And there is a certain way to do that. For example, you could have a podcast, you could have a top list of the top 50 people that you wanted to work with, for example, and you could invite them to a podcast, interview them, make an offer at the end. And, some people do that. But I'm a big fan of funnels. So I believe in funnels, and there are many different types of funnels. One that I'm working on at the moment, and I'm actually creating this for myself. I call it Chosen First Funnel, but what it is essentially it's a report, 3 videos, and a webinar, and you actually bring people into your ecosystem, And then they say it takes 11 kind of meaningful touch points. They've done a lot of studies on this recently in order to turn a prospect or a lead, if you like, into a client, right? If they're going to be your client. So basically, what this funnel does is it actually creates those touch points. But because people miss a lot of stuff, so they might be busy, they might not read the email that day, they might miss the video that's being sent to them, because this is actually drip fed to them over a period, relatively short and condensed period of time. So it could be a week, it could be 2 weeks or whatever. But it's kind of sent to them like a series. But there's a lot of other stuff going on in the background. So there are custom email sequences. There are some text reminders. There's obviously the video itself. There's a report for people who they like to read, because, you know, people consume content in different ways, and they're obviously in different places at different times. So the whole point of this particular funnel, which has got something at the heart of it that I call the messaging waterfall system, is that it's kind of like a cascade of value that you deliver across multiple touch points over a relatively condensed period of time, so that you can make an offer to them at the end. So what it does, I mean, it can be, you can open a cart and obviously get them to buy, you know, something like an online program, or you can drive to a call if your price point is higher. But the whole point of this is that you're automating and putting structure around this process that needs to happen of building know, like, and trust. So that is the power of a funnel. And there are lots of different well, let's just say a few different models out there. So there's, for example, the book acquisition, the acquisition funnel that starts with a book. So the whole purpose of that one is for the book to pay for the cost of ads, because it's very low cost purchase, and then you progressively offer upsells, and that's a different kind of model. But funnels are it for me. I think that's the answer, really. Once you've driven leads, you have to drive into something, put them in a funnel, and take them on a journey.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. And I've done a lot of reading and coaching with various marketing people over the years. And funnels is something that we use for our own marketing purposes, but we also use it for other things as well. For example, for our recruitment, we have recruitment funnels, and it's the same concept, isn't it? You just basically want to cast the net wide, but then quickly filter down, because you don't want, I think this is the thing I've learned over the more recent years, is that you actually don't want everybody in your close network, so to speak, when it comes to potential clients. You want the right people, and you want people that, like I was saying before, that will massively benefit from you just being you and just doing what you do best, and not having to make extra effort to make things work, because we all are, well, we all are. If you are an expert, if you are a coach, then you are brilliant at something. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing it. And so you want people that just get it and get you. And I think that to me is the power of the funnel. It allows you to take people through that step-by-step process and actually just eliminate people, get people out of it. So what you're left with is those select few who just love what you do, love what you say, and to jump at the chance to work with you. And so I think that's, you know, I totally agree with you. I think it's a brilliant way to work it. But I guess I'm going to go back to my point before, which is what do you think is a good way? And you mentioned a book, obviously, but I'm not published a book. I have almost written a book, but it isn't published, so it might as well not be written. And so there's lots of people in similar positions to me. Is, I believe what I do is absolutely life-changing, and I got evidence of that from the hundreds of clients that we've worked with and we've helped. And but I almost struggle. I'm not a marketer. I'm not a good at natural marketer, I should say. I'm not a particularly strong salesperson, I don't think. I'm a creator. I like fixing problems. I like solving, simplifying complicated business problems into something that anyone can use. That's my genius. That's what I'm brilliant at. And so what I struggle with the whole conversion from social media into almost getting people in is how do you get eyes on the content you're actually producing? Because we put a lot of content out there, but I know, because I track it all, that actually engagement on our content isn't particularly good. So if we say put out some sort of lead magnet, whether that's a download or a framework or a checklist or something to basically just get someone's email address, so we can start that conversation off, and I can actually see, okay, that person might be interested in what we're talking about. But I find that actually the more, especially with things like Facebook, the more the years go on, the harder it is to actually get people to see it. And we have a Facebook group with 3,500 people. But I can do posts in there and it will get about 10 to 15 views sometimes. Not all, that's bad end of the scale, but it's really demoralizing. Like when you're putting the effort into doing it, but you're not getting it. So how do we get more eyes on the stuff that we're producing?
Yeah. So I know exactly what you're talking about with Facebook. I mean, it's the same for me. I've got a Facebook group as well with about 4,000 people. I mean, I do keep it going, but the engagement is certainly massively reduced from what it was a few years ago. So the reason for that is because the social media platforms at a certain time, a few years ago, they had a different agenda to the one that they have now. And their agenda now, they built the audience. In the earlier days, the idea was to build the audience. So they would push content out a lot more. And in fact, you can see the same thing on LinkedIn, the same trend, not quite as obvious as Facebook. But if you are posting a overtly businessy post, what will happen is the algorithms will pick up on that, and they want business people to what's called pay to play. That's why they restrict your reach. And you're thinking, what on earth is going on? I've just put out something that's really valuable and really good, and they are, I've hardly getting any eyeballs on it. And then you post something that's kind of very social, like, oh, I'm out with a beer, Friday night, beer night with my mates or whatever. And it's like, oh my God, this has got like thousands of views, and it's even the same on LinkedIn. So it's very difficult because the social media networks they're not owned by us. We're not in control. And so social media, for me, it's a place where people go to check you out once they have decided that you are on their radar and they're interested. So that's why I maintain a presence on social media. It's so that people can do that. I don't expect clients to come to win clients through my social media activity. I do that in different ways. So I think, the real route to success is to use effective lead generation. And look, it is a minefield. I admit that. Everybody that has paid for lead generation, which most of us will, have had a disappointing experience at times and lost money. That's what happens. But you can't get away from it. You have to pay in order to get those leads, or you have to get really good at the tech and actually become the person who understands how to use all these various lead generation tools and methodologies in a really smart way. And that is a very, very specialist field. So I take it you probably don't want to become a Facebook ads expert or a YouTube ads expert or because it's not what you do. So we end up paying, and unfortunately we can't get away from that. It's just not possible to scale a business through organic social media quickly anymore.
No, I agree with you, and actually I'm very, very glad to hear you say that, because for the past 12 months or so, that's been my philosophy on social media, to keep my group going, to keep my posting going, and to actually we have scaled it up significantly, because it needs to be there. When people, like you say, when people check you out, you need to have a presence, otherwise you don't exist in the modern world. But we are looking at now LinkedIn more strongly, because I think that's an area where our our potential clients will be, because we focus on just small, medium businesses.
Yes.
And that's, I think, as our business has grown and we develop what we do, then it's our target audience has changed as well, which is
Yes.
which is probably followed the trend, thankfully, for social media, being able to get off the reliance on Facebook, which, we built the business on Facebook, but we don't see a lot of stuff coming from that now. So no, I'm
Yeah.
interested and reassured to hear that I'm not just alone in this, and actually that's not a bad thing or an uncommon thing to be happening. So
No, and your business would do very well on LinkedIn, for definite, Steve. And I think the most important thing is not just, obviously the technology matters, because without the technology, where would we all be? I mean, we couldn't do anything like this. So of course, it matters, but it really is just a pipeline. The other thing that is really, really important is actually communicating your value in a way that your ideal clients immediately understand, is for them. So actually clarity of messaging, and your positioning. I mean, that's the background and the world that I come from, is the competitive, positioning of your product or service, in your marketplace. How are you different to other people that do what you do? And how are you going to get your ideal clients to understand that? And how are you going to communicate in a way that really they immediately, a light bulb goes on in their head and they're like, my God, I've been struggling with this for so long. And he has just articulated the exact problem that I have. And it is like, when you have those light bulb moments, it's like, this person understands me. They must have the answer because they understand the problem. And that is, again, it's a skill. It's a skill set that, obviously it's my skill set, because that's the background I come from. It's a creative background. It's brand marketing. That was what I did for many, many years. But I think there's a bit of a misunderstanding in the market out there that this is not, valuable or important work, and it really is. Because no matter how much you spend on your lead generation, how good your funnels are, if your message misses the mark, people won't buy from you. So that kind of matters too.
yeah, no, I think when you say it matters too, I think it probably matters more than anything.
Yes.
Like, going back to my same point again for the third time, I think is like, if you get that messaging right, and I know that's an area that I could definitely do some help with, so maybe we'll have a chat afterwards.
Yeah.
But getting that messaging right, and exactly like you just said, it's about attracting the right people, but also about repelling the wrong people. And I know from being a consumer of, I pay for coaching all the time, and I consistently have coaches and mentors, and I pay for
Yeah.
trainings and in my business. And I just think, why did I pay for that person? Why did I go into a contract or a partnership with that particular person? Is because they said something that at that moment it resonated with me. It answered the key core problem that I was searching for a solution to. And it
Yes.
answered it in such a way that I thought, this guy or girl isn't full of BS, and it's somebody that maybe I'll actually do a bit more digging, research into, go on social media, see what they're doing, but then jump on the phone with and have a chat. And it all starts with their ability to communicate the value that they can give me as a consumer in a way that I get it. I'm like, that's what I need. And so 100% see the value in that. And so I'm surprised. I think maybe, you're saying that it's undervalued. And I think maybe it's the bigger I've got as a business, or the more mature I've got as a business, the more I value stuff like that. And I think that's just a product of the fact that when you try and do it yourself in the early days, and you have these early successes, sort of the beginner's luck type scenario often, or it's just like you're so enthusiastic and you put all your energy into doing it, and so you do see some results. But to continue that and to evolve the business as the world evolves and changes, and to keep yourself competitive and attractive and hitting the mark on the messaging, that's where I think that, for myself anyway, that as the years gone on, the value of that expertise has grown exponentially in my business. So yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I think what happens, I think progressively is very different to kind of being somebody who's in the just launching a business for the first time. When I mean, some of my clients, one of my programs, they're relatively early stage, so they need a lot of help, but they're not at the point where they need very, very specific help. So for example, they wouldn't be the right clients for this funnel that I described, because what they need to learn how to do first is to clarify their offer. That's the most important thing, to give it a name, to give the process, the steps, the transformation that they create, the client avatar journey, to give like names and labels to all of those things. And then they need to learn how to kind of present themselves on social media, and how to really start with some very, very basic kind of automations, like, producing a little report, and actually starting and having an email list for the first time. So, that is completely different to more advanced business owners, like you and me, who we bump up against problems. And when we bump up against them, we know that there is somebody out there must have a very specific answer to this problem. And we know what that problem is, and we go hunting for those answers, because they're almost like micro solutions. And I think that's what happens when you scale, when you start to scale as opposed to launching. And so having the right help from the right people, I totally agree, is invaluable. What you do is invaluable. I mean, I'm sure that you've got some amazing case studies, Steve, because what could be more important than systemizing your business?
Yeah, we have some. I've just been looking at recently, actually, at republishing some of our case studies. Actually, a lot of them have never been published. I use snippets of them here and there, but some of the interviews I've had with our ex-clients are gold, like in terms of marketing collateral, so to speak. And that's not why I recorded them. And the simple fact I haven't overused them and splattered them shows that I genuinely mean that. I recorded them because I wanted to get feedback about the program, about how things are working and what I could improve. And then I also just wanted to get some snippets just to use, like, for just to give some authority or some social proof to the work that we do. And but yeah, and we were just talking off camera before, or off mic before, that that's an area where I know that what we do is fantastic. Just I've got to figure out how to let other people know that in a more efficient way. So this stuff that we talk about now, it just resonates with me a lot. So and I'm sure it's going to resonate with a lot of our audience as well. And okay, let's move on. I think it's been absolutely fascinating so far. And one thing that I know, that simply from the name of your label you've given yourself, so to speak, the smart connector. So the word connector, like, what does that mean to you? Why have you called yourself the smart connector, and what does that what does it mean to you?
Yeah, so I mean, look, I love naming. I'm a very creative person, and so connection, it has a very personal meaning to me, but it's also something that I do in my business. So for me, smart connection happens on three levels. The first level is really your connection with yourself. So one of my favorite phrases is always be clear about your purpose, or others will use you for theirs. So I think, we have to be, as entrepreneurs, we're drivers of our own, ships or whatever, captains of our own ships. We have to be very clear and very purpose driven and very values driven. We have to know what we stand for. We have to know where we're headed. We can't be blown about by other people saying, should you really be doing this? Or, you can afford to do that if you're in a job. But when you have your own business, you can't really. So it's about that, and it's also about being clear about your needs, because it's, of course, very common as well for entrepreneurs to drive themselves into the ground and totally neglect personal aspects of their life that are also important. So it's really about kind of listening to yourself and having that inner dialogue. Um, then there's connection with others, and that's more to do with your interpersonal skills. Of course, again, that's very important as an entrepreneur, because people buy people they like. So if you're the kind of person that you just can't stop talking about yourself, I mean, we all know people like that. You just can't, shut them up, and they never ask you any questions about yourself, and they're not mindful really of the reciprocal value that's being created in a relationship, in any kind of transaction, whether it's just a small conversation or bigger partnership or whatever. Then you're not going to do very well in business, and I'm afraid that is just the sad truth. That people who have that interpersonal intelligence, they tend to do better. So that's connection with others. And then connection with many is really the thing that I'm also incredibly passionate about. And that's where my, professional background and expertise comes in, because it's okay. How do you actually resonate and connect with people at scale? I mean, how do you do these kind of interviews and people actually say, I like that person. I understand what they say, and I understand why they could be relevant to me. And I mean, it's not just about charisma. I mean, charisma is fantastic, obviously. I wouldn't necessarily say it's my superpower. Um, there are some people who are super charismatic, but most people aren't. And that doesn't matter. All that matters is that you have a message that you want to take to the world, and you want the world to appreciate its value. Or when I say the world, I mean the people who are right for you to appreciate its value. So really, how you do that is the thing that I'm just obsessed with it. I just love it.
So is that your superpower then? Understanding
Connection,
that and
most
how to.
definitely. Connection. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
And is it the so okay? Well, I don't know what it. I'll let you describe it. Why do you think connection is your superpower then?
Well, so I'm sure that we had a conversation at some point about wealth dynamics, Steve. You've done
Yeah,
wealth
yeah,
dynamics, haven't you? So
absolutely.
what's your wealth dynamics profile?
Um,
I bet you're a mechanic, aren't you? I bet that's part
yeah,
of it.
I'm a mechanic creator star apparently,
Aha.
which does resonate with me. I'm quite an introverted character, but when I'm talking about something that I'm passionate about and believe in, then that's where my star comes from because I
Yeah.
I love talking about stuff that I believe, like systems, and I
Mm.
could talk about that all day long and get on the stage and not have any nerves about doing that. But I'm not a chit chatty sort of so small talky kind of person, or I don't enjoy being in groups of people, large groups of people I don't particularly know, and so I'm definitely not an out and out extrovert by any means. So I'm sort of sit on the fence a little bit.
Yeah, okay. I can see that. I can see all of those things in you. So I'm also a star creator. I don't know about the third one. I'm sure there was a third one somewhere. But anyway, but basically I'm just one of those people that I'm just very, very curious about other people, and I love to chat. I love to find out about them. I love to know what motivates them. I'm really kind of in my element around other people. So you would say that I'm apparently a classic extrovert. I don't really think I am, because I also like my own company, but I definitely thrive on relationships. And I think what I really crave more than anything, and what I really love, is kind of no holds barred conversations. That is the thing that it's so good for our souls. So people that we can really just be ourselves with, that we don't have to be scared that they're going to judge us, they're going to not get us. They're just people who accept us for ourselves. And it's hard. I mean, I'm divorced. I think you're married, aren't you, Steve? And
Yeah,
you've got kids and so on. So I mean,
yeah.
it's fantastic if you have a great marriage and a wonderful partner. That's amazing, because a lot of those needs obviously are getting met. But there are always topics where you're not going to connect that well with people. I don't know your wife, for example, but there might be some interest, for example, that you have that she doesn't
Systems.
share. Oh, systems. There you go. Okay.
She
Right.
has absolutely no interest.
Okay.
Not that systems are all about tech, but she's a technophobe. She just doesn't really get. I mean, she gets systems a bit, I guess, but no. So we don't talk business. We talk people, business, staffing, and stuff like that sometimes, but definitely not
Yeah.
systems.
Exactly. So if you didn't have anybody to talk to about systems, you would have this kind of, fascination with systems locked inside you. And you'd sit down for dinner with your wife and you'd think, you know what, I can't talk about this thing that I really care about. It's really important to me and I feel so excited about it. And I know that if I talk to her about it, then she's just gonna, this glazed look expression is going to come over her face.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, is that right?
Done that many a time, yeah.
Okay. So what it is we all have to have different people in our lives who we can connect with in an authentic way. For example, I've got friends that I just talk to about children and family. I cannot talk to them about business. Anytime I've ventured there, it's just been a car crash, an absolute disaster. And there are people who you can talk to about systems who you can't necessarily talk to about, your children's bedtime routine or whatever. So it's very important to recognize where we need to find a point of connection with other people and to reach out and build relationships, reciprocal relationships, to those people who are going to make us feel whole as humans. So, at its most fundamental, that's what connection always is. I mean, it really is. And I think with me, I've always, loved those kind of intimate one-to-one conversations, and I really just can't get enough of them. Even if it's only like a little tiny conversation about a dog, about my dog and another dog, just basically you're not putting on any kind of a front, you're being true to yourself. Um and it's just great, when people are being true to themselves and they're talking to you, and where you can be true to yourself. And to me, that's one of the biggest joys in life, really. So I suppose it's just something that I enjoy, as opposed to it necessarily being just something that I'm absolutely brilliant at.
Yeah, no. Well, I'm sure you are brilliant at it, and no doubt that I don't doubt that for a second. What you just said there is very interesting, and it really resonates with me. The concept or the idea of that no one single person will make you complete or be what you need in terms of support. And I think that as a young man going out meeting my future potential partners, I always look for somebody who could basically be everything. And that person never existed. So it took me many years to figure that out and to realize that actually being fulfilled in life and now in business, exactly what you just described, it takes a multitude of people and connections to fill all of those pigeonholes that you have, the need that you have to talk about stuff that you're passionate about. And I feel incredibly lucky to have started a business in an area which I never had an outlet for. Nobody understood the stuff to the depth and the knowledge, to the depth that I do in my world previously. And now I get to chat about this all day long and I get paid for it. And it's
Yeah.
just fantastic. And people, love the fact that I love what I do. I'm doing something I truly enjoy. And so I get to sit down and solve other people's business problems and apply a systems approach to that. And they think I'm brilliant for doing what I absolutely love doing. I'd probably pay someone to let me do it if I didn't have the business now. So, but that's really filled a huge space of a void that I had. So for me, the connections part of my business is that, I remember probably about 6 years ago now, my first ever business mentor, and they asked me to write down, to articulate or to paint a picture of where I saw my life. I think it was 5 years from now, but when back then, so it's probably about now. And I remember writing down that one of the key things I said is I wanted to be spending my time in high level business conversations with other intelligent business owners and solving significant business problems through systems. And literally that's what I wrote down. And this was before the idea of the business ever came into my head. This is when I was still in property. I was getting into commercial conversions. I was this thing that I now do day in, day out wasn't even a light bulb twinkling on at that point. It was nothing.
Wow.
And to now to see that fulfilled without really any, well, obviously there has been conscious effort there, but it's not like, oh, that was my plan, that's where I'm going. It's just sort of evolved. And I think writing stuff like, this is a bit of a tangent, but writing stuff like down your goals in the future can actually help you to drive to actually find, going back to the topic, the connections that you need to actually get you there, both from a connections of building the business, but also the connections of just being fulfilled and having those needs met. So yeah, I massively resonate with that. It's something like we used to talk about in medicine a lot as well, when people were looking for support. And they were, for example, people come in, they're like, I can't talk to my partner about X, Y, Z. You know, I really need the support right now. And back to what I was saying about, you know, when I was dating, it's like, you got to realize that you need to find a bigger or other people to connect with. Exactly like I said, talk about your dog, talk about your kids, to talk about your whatever it is. And then you can feel
your skincare routine, you know, your interest in fashion.
You start talking to me about skincare routine. Mine is get out the shower and dry my face. I mean, I don't, you know, that's it. So yeah, probably not the best person.
Yeah, I mean,
my wife, on the other hand, would probably have to talk to you about skincare.
No, I mean, there's a couple of interesting things in what you said there, Steve. I think the first thing is that issue about having a North Star. And I often think, you know, you don't have to get too macro about, you know, is it micro about things, but you can, as long as you've got, you know, a sense of where you're headed in a very, very big picture way, then, you know, that sometimes mostly takes care of some of the day-to-day decisions, doesn't it? Because it's like, well, shall I do this or shall I do that? And if you try to hold on too tightly, I think, to, you know, routines, I mean, obviously we all have an operating system because we all have habits, because systems are not just technology related. We have systems in the way that we approach our lives, don't we? But I think one of the, if you like, the, you know, the things that sits on top of a successful system, if you like, is an overarching goal. And that North Star is a conceptual goal that dictates our operating system. Well, at least that's my take on it. I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, definitely. I think, again, in the early days, starting the business out, people always talk about goals and 5-year, 10-year goals and all the rest of it. And when you're just starting out, that's really difficult because you've got no real idea where you're going. You know, you think you put up these, you know, pie in the sky numbers and like, oh, I'm going to have a million clients by, you know, 5 years from now or whatever. And it is just that there. They're just sort of like pulling ideas like concepts out of thin air. But as I think, as you focus more on something, whatever your thing is in your business, and you then give yourself some sort of direction, the key is that it doesn't matter if that direction changes. And this is what I've learned over the years. It's just the fact you've got a direction. And then, just like you said, it's the decisions that are made on a day-to-day basis then either fall in line with that direction or they don't. And what I found is you'll trend away from something and you'll realize actually the goal was wrong, or you'll realize that the decisions you're making are moving you away from your goal and actually you need to pull them back in. So it can work in two ways. It doesn't need to be so fixed and rigid that you're stuck. And actually, with the rapid changing of the world in general, you've got to be flexible. But I know for day-to-day stuff in our business, one thing that I am far better than I used to be at, but I'm not saying I'm perfect, is that we come up with our quarterly goals once a quarter, and then we'd go off on tangents all over the shop. Someone would come up with a new idea for whatever, or a bit of technology, or, you know, someone would jump on a call or do a podcast and get excited about something, and we go off on a tangent. And now what we do is every single week we have on our company meeting, we just talk about our goals. Is every single thing everyone in the business doing getting us towards our company goals, or is anybody, including me, but actually mainly me, going off on a tangent? And that North Star, as you say, that homing beacon to bring us back in line has allowed us to achieve so much more in such a short space of time. And it's not that we're doing any less work or any more work, it's not that we're doing any more work. We're just doing more focused work. and more directional work. And that is, massively impactful, I think, and what has been for us anyway.
Yeah, and that's such an important point. I mean, they talk about, fixed mindset and a growth mindset and so on. And you do have to have a growth mindset and not to apply too much rigidity, I think. But the one thing that, obviously in terms of marketing, I mean, you have to have really, it's like a process of a constant kind of dialogue and feedback from your audience, because I learn from my audience every single day, and I'm kind of adapting things and changing things, and as a result of the feedback that I'm getting. So I mean, that responsiveness is incredibly important. But I also think it's it's that thing about understanding the difference between being responsive to your marketplace and not chasing the shiny object. And of course, what the shiny object is really starting something new before you finished something that you started. So I have a rule in my business that I will not take on 2 projects for myself at any given time. So I will, if I'm building a funnel, I'm doing this funnel at the moment. I will get to the end of that funnel before I start and before I write my next book or do, whatever else it is. Because what tends to happen with those shiny objects is you end up having all these unfinished projects scattered around, and it's like mentally very cluttering. It's kind of bad for your energy, I think. So that is the discipline that I've had to learn as well, Steve. Is just I mean, we both met when we were obviously, with the whole kind of progressive thing and Rob and so on. And I remember one of the things that he always said was focus, follow one course until successful. So yeah, sometimes we need to be reminded of that, don't we?
Yeah, this is Rob Moore, who we're talking about here, and he always used to preach about 70-20-10. So spend 70% of your time on your main thing, 20% on the next thing, and 10% on your someday thing. And but that 70% needs to be 70% or more to make it happen and make it actually get to completion. And I think marketing, bringing it back to the subject of the session or the show here, is marketing is one of those things where the shiny pennies never end. And there's always a marketeer trying to market their marketing strategy to you. Marketeers are very good at that. And so you're going to get bombarded with lots of different ideas and people saying that this new thing is easier, quicker, cheaper, more effective than anything else you've ever seen before. And look at my numbers. And that's very, very hard, I think, to not get distracted by, because you just think, just if I could just get one sale through that would it would pay for it or something. I'm guilty of this so many times. And but all in all, if I think about doing that, what that has done is taken me away from, like you just mentioned now, finishing my funnel. If just creating a single marketing funnel that works as something that basically would just tick over, produce a stream of leads that actually would convert in or potentially convert into clients. Having that finished, working day in, day out, even if you do nothing else for 6 months while you get that done, and then think, okay, now I've got that in place, I've got some leads coming in, now I can go and look at something else. And I think that's why, by the sounds of it, it's exactly this kind of thing you work with your clients on doing, is actually finishing what they start, making it actually function, work, make them actually get a return on that investment before they go chasing anything else. Because, as I said, there is an infinite number of ways in which you can market. And you mentioned before about the technology involved in, YouTube ads, Facebook ads, whatever. It's a full-time job just to learn the basics. Let alone get good at it and make it actually work. So you've got to finish what you start with regards to having something solid, a foundation for your lead gen, and then do anything else. But
yeah, so I think, unfortunately, this is what I see a lot in the marketing space. So I see these, like, I call them bro marketers, right? These kind of like young guys, they're just like got dollar signs in their eyes. And they're essentially, we've seen this in the property space as well, because obviously you and I have done that same training, right? The get rich quick, overnight millionaire, stories, right? So I mean, we all know as marketers that people are looking for simple. They're looking for fast and simple, right? And you're always like, drilled into that. Make it sound fast and make it sound simple. So, okay, marketing, to do it effectively, it's not fast and it's not simple. It just isn't, to build these funnels. And so what a lot of people do is they'll say it's fast and simple, and then they'll give people a DIY program to learn something like Facebook ads or YouTube ads or, like webinars or whatever. And the truth of the matter is that that's really trying to turn non-marketers into marketers through a short course that teaches them a whole load of complex stuff that is it's just not possible to learn all that stuff in a short course, 8 weeks or something like that. I mean, people are marketers for life. I've been doing this for 25 years, and the marketing landscape is changing all the time. So, you have to do it all the time. So that's why with this particular funnel product that I was talking about earlier, actually it's a done for you product, because we know how to do it quickly. But if we were to teach it to somebody, it would be way beyond the capability of most people. You could probably manage it because, well, you could manage the technology, but you might struggle with the messaging. So what we've got is we've got a whole load of templates that have just been exhausting and very hard to put together. And this messaging waterfall system, so we try to make it as foolproof as possible for people who are not marketers, because otherwise what happens, and it's really sad to see it, is these people go out there, they spend all this money and they just fall flat on their faces because they're trying to do something that is really an expert's job. So I'm not a kind of huge fan of these complex Facebook ad plus web. I've done all of that stuff myself, and I realized through doing that, actually, you're trying to bundle together a whole load of different skills. For example, technical project management, that, when people do that, that is what they do. And they do it day in, day out, day in, day out until they become experts. And if you put that together with copywriting, well, people do that day in, day out, till they become experts. And, all of these things, you can't just kind of bundle them all together and say you can learn it in 8 weeks. So I usually kind of, I'm a little bit against those kind of programs. I think it's okay to teach people how to do social media better and, the relatively simple stuff. But when you get to the more complex stuff, that is definitely where you do need, the help of some proven experts. To get the best results anyway.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and I've tried both ends of the scale, so to speak, and so try the DIY stuff, and with zero success, but then getting professional coaches to actually help, and to, even if they don't write everything for you, but to literally not proofread, to go over your stuff, give you feedback, tweak it, make sure it's that can work. And I think that's so having that done for you, or very much done with you, with a strong emphasis on that. Yeah, exactly. A strong emphasis on collaboration, on creation of the content. That sounds like a recipe for success.
Yes, I think that is really the best way. So, but I'm sure there are people who wouldn't agree.
No, I know I do. Now I've spent a lot of money, lots of thousands of pounds, I'm not going to say how many, on doing things wrong. And I've read all the books, all the marketing, well, not all the marketing. I've read many marketing books. I'm not, I don't think I'm a genius, but I think I'm intelligent enough to be able to understand the concepts and get it to a point where it makes sense. I can see the theory behind it, but it's the rolling out of it in practice and the obstacles that come up time and time again. It's like our coaching programs. We stopped doing DIY. We have no DIY products.
Oh, really?
We have an introductory course, I should say, before I get people saying, "Oh, but you got this thing." We have an
Yeah.
introductory course, which is literally meant to give people a path to come on to our coaching programs, because when people start trying to implement this stuff, they will hit obstacles.
Yes.
Implementing a concept such as marketing or systems into a
Yes.
specific niche business
Yes.
is something that requires some level of expertise, and it's not something that people can't learn. But if you're going to do it, like if you do it with somebody, that learning curve happens so much quicker than trying
Yes.
to make all the mistakes yourself. And so I'm not saying this
Definitely.
to try to sell either of our coaching programs. Saying this to anyone listening, that if you're going into the world of marketing, trust me, do not waste your money on any paid marketing if you're going to do it yourself. Get to a point where you can afford the coaches, can afford the program before you invest in marketing, or invest in paid marketing, because otherwise it's just throwing money down the drain unless you are incredibly lucky. And I've been there, and that's living from experience. So that's why I
Yeah.
was very, very, very happy, very excited to get you on the show to hear about what you're doing. And so I am huge advocate of the work you're doing, and it sounds absolutely
Thank
remarkable.
you. And I love the work that you're doing, Steve. I'm a massive fan of yours as well. So yeah, Mutual Appreciation Society today, I think.
Yeah, big high five.
Yeah, high
Uh,
five.
cool. I've got to wrap this up. I could literally continue chatting for forever, but I will wrap this up because I need to, because I have my son who's just come home from school, so I'm going to go and play with him. And
Aw.
so let me just finish up. I like to ask a few key questions at the end of every show, as you may or may not know. So we're just going to a couple of quick questions, and then I'll let you go. So first off, what can you just give us a few of your favorite apps or tech or anything that you use to help you in your day-to-day business?
Yeah, so Trello is a favorite of mine. So I love that because obviously you'll be familiar with that, but that's a way that I can collaborate with my VA in particular, so that's been a very, very helpful and a game changer to me. I'm just going to have a look at my phone because there are so many. Right. So I'm also let me have a look. I've got so many. My God.
It could
So
be tools you use, websites you use for marketing, anything. It doesn't need to be apps.
yeah,
Whatever.
so I mean, we build out all our funnels on a platform called Go High Level. And not everybody knows about Go High Level because it's really an agency product. So people will have heard of things like ClickFunnels, Kajabi, Thinkific. There's all sorts of ones that people use, but we happen to use this one just simply because you can license it as an agency, and it means that we can pass on those cost savings to our clients, and it's a very, very powerful platform. You can do anything in
Yeah,
there.
no,
It's
I
just,
have a lot of clients on it.
oh, really?
Yeah, and they've been begging me to go over so I can start systemizing
Oh,
parts of it. But we're quite embedded on our own CRM and systems at the moment. So we are going to move
oh,
over to a Go High Level. So
oh,
this is
really?
I am a future customer, and probably in the near future.
Oh,
Yeah, so no, a big advocate. I am not a big advocate. I'm a big believer in that as a platform because it is
y-
gone from strength to strength since it came out as well. Unlike some other similar platforms which haven't done so well. So yeah,
yeah. Oh, fantastic. Obviously, Loom's quite good, isn't it? Because you can make videos and communicate quickly with your clients or your team. Slack is great, obviously, for having a channel that's away from the busy kind of
yeah.
social media and WhatsApp and all the rest of it. Just looking at my phone. I mean, I've got so many apps on here. So I
I'll
think
do fine.
yeah, those are the main ones that I
Yeah.
use for
No,
business.
I agree with all them. And Slack, I'm actually going to do a podcast episode imminently on Slack because not enough people use it.
Ah,
So very
really
few of our
brilliant.
clients use it. So we actually now have my elite coaching clients, we do our coaching via Slack to encourage people to start using it because it's
Ah,
been transformational in our business. So
amazing.
yeah.
Oh, that's so good.
Cool. Who else do you think would be a great guest on this podcast?
Yeah, so you've really put me on the spot now. So, I mean, look, My partner, who I work with on the funnel build, Andy Phillips, he might be happy to come on. He's a bit of a backroom boy, but the thing is, he's a go high level expert.
Yeah, okay.
So he will wax lyrical about go high level. He'll talk about it till the cows come home because he absolutely loves it. And he was the one that got me into it. So he might be a good guy. I'll ask him. And I'll have a think. I'll think of a couple of other people who would have something really interesting to say about systems,
Yeah, or just in business in general, because it is
business in general.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is I've had some fascinating people who have nothing to do with systems, but they help business owners or businesses succeed, and that's what this is all about. It's about
Yep.
people that have something to say that would help other business owners get through a challenge. And I mean, just recently we've spent the entire time really speaking about lots to do with mental health in business. We talked about goal setting. We talked about nothing really. I guess it was the why behind systems more than the actual systems themselves. But anyway, so yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm sure I've got some suggestions, Steve. I've
Okay.
had so many amazing guests on my podcast that would be fantastic guests for you as well. So leave it with
Yeah.
me, and I will make a few suggestions.
Stop some numbers. Okay, fine. And finally, the type of this podcast is Systemize Your Success. But what does success mean to you?
Yeah. So I read somebody put a post about this on social media this morning. So I think success is the impact that you make on others, the impact that you make on the world. And that can be very small. It can be moments of success. Or it can be, your big, hairy, audacious goals, as they call them. So the achievement of those. I mean, I'm an ambitious person because I like to live a big life. So I take risks, maybe that other people wouldn't. So for me, yes, of course, I want business success, financial success, prosperity, a legacy for my children, all of those things. But the only reason why those things drive me is because I love to make an impact on other people. And fundamentally, that's what it's all about. It's all about, helping other people enjoy their lives, have better lives, have easier, more successful businesses as well. And, just make the world a better place, really.
Fantastic. Great answer. Cool. Thank you so much, Jay. Now,
Oh, you're very welcome.
if
Been
anyone listening,
great time. What a fantastic interview. Really enjoyed it. Thank you.
good, my absolute pleasure. If anyone wants to find out more about how you can help them or just learn a bit more about you, where is the best place for people to check you out?
Yeah, so I'm on LinkedIn quite a lot, so you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm also on Facebook and the other social media platforms, or you can visit my website, which is www.janebayler.com, or of course check me out on the podcast, which is called The Smart Connector.
Fantastic. And we'll put a link in the show notes as well, which you'll find at our website, www.systemizeyoursuccess.com, which will be a link to your contact pages. And also, I know you've got a great page on there, which people can find out more specifically about how you can help them and what you do if they're interested in finding out more about your services. So,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, thank you again.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, Jane. It's been a lot of fun. And yeah, we'll speak again soon. Thank you.